Okay, so what if I told you that the audio quality in your videos doesn't matter? I know it sounds kind of weird coming from an audio-centric channel for me to say something like that, but as solo content creators, sometimes we get hung up on small production details that we just can't seem to overcome no matter how hard we try. And for a lot of us, audio quality is just that. So today we're going to talk about 3 reasons why audio quality in your videos might not be as important as you think, and what you as a solo content creator can focus on instead. Now, disclaimer right off the bat, I'm not saying that you don't need good sounding audio. What I am saying is that there is a threshold for our perceived idea of what good audio is. And as long as your sound reaches an acceptable level for your viewing audience, then it's probably good enough. Now, the first reason that high quality audio might not matter in your videos is because as listeners and human beings, our hearing is adaptive. When we as humans enter a new environment and we hear what that environment sounds like, we can very quickly become acclimated to all of the inherent sounds within that environment. So say, for example, I used to live in a condo that was by a busy street right next to a church. And there were always cars and trucks driving by, and the church bells went off every single hour on the hour. And friends would come over and they would say, "How can you as an audio person live next to this kind of noise?" And my response was always, you just kind of get used to it. And that's the same thing with your YouTube videos. Once your video starts and your viewer hears the audio in that video, it establishes a baseline for what their expectations are. And before they know it, they might not even realize some key details. Like, for example, how this microphone isn't even plugged in. Yeah, so that is not the microphone that is recording the audio for this particular video. In fact, the audio that you're hearing is coming from this guy, my GoPro Hero 8 with my Sennheiser MKE 200. And that leads us to the second thing that you might want to consider instead of audio quality, and that is audio consistency. So what do I mean by audio consistency? Well, it really is maintaining a certain consistency within all of the audio contained within your video. And I know you know what I'm talking about. I bet you, at some point in your YouTube viewing history, have watched your favorite creator be on camera and then cut away to a screen capture. And when they do that, their voiceover audio is significantly different than their on-camera audio. And it's probably because in their production process, they recorded that screen capture differently than when they shot their on-camera footage and subsequently used a different microphone. But when they cut back to their on-camera shot and switch back to their on-camera audio, that's when you can hear that major difference. And what that does is it breaks your attention and takes away from the actual content. And it's not just YouTube. We see this exact thing in Hollywood movies all the time. In Hollywood films, sometimes they do something called ADR, or additional dialogue recordings, because sometimes when they're shooting a movie, the audio on set wasn't captured correctly, or there was some kind of noise that makes it unusable, or even times they want to change the dialogue a little bit. So after shooting is done, they bring the actors back into a recording studio and they record pickup lines that are then edited into the final film. And sometimes you can totally tell that one piece of dialogue within a scene was recorded in a studio space and not on location. Because the on-screen actor will be saying some part of their dialogue and then it will sound something like this. And that takes away from the overall story and brings you out of the moment of the piece of media that you're watching. So if you can't focus on audio quality, at least focus on audio consistency, because that can really help retain viewers' attention. And the third reason why audio quality might not be so important is because above audio quality, your actual content will always be king. People will compromise on the level of production that they're willing to sit through if the content is engaging, if it is providing useful information and value, and if it reaches some kind of minimum standard for quality. So my wife has been on a YouTube kick and she's been watching a whole bunch of different creators in niches that I never watch content in. And while she's watching these videos and I am listening to them in the background, I am totally surprised at how many have really subpar sounding audio. And my wife even comments on this very thing, but her justification is, I can tolerate this audio because the information they are providing is that much more important. So remember, your message has value. And as long as you can clearly articulate that to your viewer in some way, they will hear what you actually have to say. So don't worry if your audio quality isn't exactly where you want it to be, because really it's probably a lot better than you actually think. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk again real soon.